Ever see the oil pressure light blip on and just shrug it off only to find yourself marooned on the shoulder an hour later? That tiny blink is a warning shot in a silent war that rages under every hood whenever drivers repeat habits that feel harmless but destroy the machinery they depend on. Studies by major warranty providers show more than 60% of non-collision repair claims arise from owner behavior, not design flaws, draining billions from household budgets across the country each year. Automakers pour vast resources into fail-safes, yet even the smartest engineering cannot compensate for a dumb owner's mistake such as a dipstick never checked, a gear lever used like an armrest, or brake pads ground down to bare steel. The tragedy is that each breakdown starts with a decision as small as ignoring tire pressure or coasting on fumes. Understanding those decisions separates vehicles that breeze past 300,000 miles from those that expire before their 5th birthday. Let's expose the most widespread, wallet-draining mistakes that mechanics encounter daily, decode the physics that make them lethal, and discuss fixes that cost little more than disciplined attention. Audit your own routine, and seize control of the hidden variables that decide whether your car thrives or dies. Master these lessons and that blinking symbol will return to its proper duty as a simple bulb test at startup, never a harbinger of roadside misery. Mistake 1. Skipping scheduled oil changes. Fresh engine oil is the backbone of every piston stroke, yet many drivers push service intervals far beyond the schedule because the engine still sounds fine. Inside, that shortcut triggers a chain reaction no ear can pick up. Oil molecules shear, lose viscosity, and thicken with carbon until they resemble tar that can barely squeeze through a passage narrower than a coffee straw. Bearings rely on a pressurized film to stay separated. Once that film thins, metal kisses metal and microscopic fragments circulate like abrasive sandpaper. Independent teardown studies on high-mileage taxis found engines that missed just 2 changes over 50,000 miles suffered measurable cam lobe scoring and varnish heavy enough to clog variable valve timing solenoids. The cure is painfully simple. Follow the mileage or time limit, whichever comes first, swap the filter every time, and pour the exact viscosity printed on the filler cap. Even if a car racks up only 5,000 miles a year, annual service purges corrosive moisture that collects during short trips. Ignoring this schedule robs not only reliability but resale value. Dealership appraisers report that complete on-time service records can raise trade-in offers by 10 to 15%, a margin that dwarfs the price of every quart poured in. Spend 30 minutes and a modest bottle of oil now, and you avoid paying for crankshaft machining, new lifters, and a tow truck later. Discipline beats disaster every single drainage cycle. Mistake 2. Driving on underinflated tires. Each tire touches tarmac on a footprint roughly the size of 2 open palms, and that thin rectangle is all that keeps 2 tons of metal controllable at highway speed. Drop pressure by just 5 pounds per square inch, and the contact patch distorts, moving load onto the shoulders where heat builds fast enough to bubble tread compound. Government crash investigations link low pressure to more than 11,000 accidents and hundreds of fatalities every year, yet roadside surveys find only 1 out of 5 motorists checks pressures monthly. Underinflation also drags fuel economy. The Department of Energy records a 1% penalty for every 2 psi below specification, enough to burn an extra full tank annually for many commuters. Prevention costs less than a latte. Invest in a reliable gauge, measure pressures cold at least once a month and before road trips, and set them to the door jamb placard rather than the number molded into the sidewall. Remember the spare hidden beneath carpets. It can lose a pound a month doing nothing at all. If ambient temperatures swing widely, recheck after the first cold snap because every 10-degree Fahrenheit drop steals another pound of pressure. Correct pressure sharpens steering, shortens stopping distances, reduces hydroplaning risk, and saves real money at the pump. A single minute with a gauge beats hours waiting for a flatbed. Mistake 3. Resting a hand on the gear lever. Sliding through traffic with one hand draped over the gear lever might seem harmless, yet inside a manual transmission that lightweight pressure tells a different story. The shift fork, the alloy arm you nudge during every change, is designed to glide freely until the next command. When a hand rests on the knob, the fork remains loaded against a rotating collar spinning at crankshaft speed, wearing its soft bronze pads into metallic dust that circulates through synchronizers and bearings. Heavier particles settle onto the magnetic drain plug, and experienced technicians can identify the culprit habit the instant they see bronze glitter during service. Laboratory lifespan testing shows constant side load can have fork service life, and once engagement teeth round off, every shift grinds like a coffee grinder. Replacing forks requires a full gearbox teardown, output shafts pressed apart, shim stacks measured, cases resealed, an operation that can exceed $4,000 even before replacement parts. Avoiding that bill costs nothing. Complete the shift, release the lever, and return both hands to the wheel where they belong for control anyway. The difference is immediate. Gear engagement feels crisper, synchros stay clean, and a beloved gearbox easily reaches mileage milestones once reserved for long-haul trucks. Break the habit today, and every future shift will reward you with silk instead of scrap. Rally instructors insist on this technique, noting that 2 hands on the wheel cut reaction times in evasive maneuvers and improve line choice through corners, delivering safety and speed in a single step. Mistake 4. Shifting from reverse to drive while still rolling. Patience feels optional when backing out of a tight parking bay, but flicking from reverse into drive before the car settles is a knockout punch to an automatic transmission. Inside the case, fluid-filled clutch packs must release one set of planetary gears and clamp another only after rotational forces stop. Slamming the lever while still moving forces those clutches to arrest the entire vehicle's momentum in a single heartbeat, creating shock loads that spike hydraulic pressure higher than design limits. Repeated daily, the friction material overheats, warps steel plates, and sheds charred particles that clog valve body passages. Electric solenoids try to compensate, commanding firmer shifts that further raise line pressure until the pump screams and the transmission bangs into gear hard enough to feel like a collision. The remedy is simpler than checking mirrors. Brake to a full stop, pause long enough to see the tachometer settle, then select drive. Those 2 seconds let pressures equalize and clutches engage under gentle, controlled force. The reward is buttery shifts, cooler fluid, and an automatic that reaches 6-figure mileage without ever visiting a rebuild bench. Rebuild quotes on modern 8-speed units regularly exceed $6,000, and extended warranties often exclude damage judged to be driver-induced, leaving the entire cost on the owner. Sparing 2 seconds at every reversal saves thousands and keeps more miles between you and the tow truck. Mistake 5. Riding the brakes on long descents. Long descents lull many drivers into feathering the brake pedal, unaware that constant light pressure cooks the braking system from within. Friction converts kinetic energy into heat. Keep that heat trapped at the rotor face and temperatures soar beyond 800 degrees Celsius, hot enough to crystallize pad binder and boil moisture in the brake fluid. Fade follows, the pedal lengthens, and stopping power vanishes just when gravity demands the most. Instrumented tests on popular mid-size SUVs found that switching to engine braking in a lower gear plus firm, intermittent pedal applications held rotor temperatures nearly 200 degrees cooler than continuous drag. Before every mountain descent, select a gear that holds speed without throttle, let the engine's compression absorb momentum, and use decisive pulses of braking to scrub excess speed only when necessary. Add periodic inspections, look for blue temper colors on rotor surfaces, measure pad thickness, and flush fluid every 2 years to purge moisture that lowers boiling point. Mastering this technique improves safety, extends component life, and keeps vacation drives from ending in the brake shop. Commercial trucking regulations mandate this very method because field data proves it slashes runaway incidents. Mistake 6. Selecting the wrong fuel grade. Octane rating measures a gasoline's resistance to detonation, the violent pressure spike that occurs when mixture self-ignites before the spark command. Engines with high compression ratios, direct injection, or turbocharging rely on premium fuel to contain that detonation from damaging the engine, sustain full ignition timing, and keep exhaust gas temperatures within safe limits. Filling them with regular, unleaded forces knocks sensors to retard timing, reducing power, raising fuel consumption, and still allowing trace detonation that erodes piston crowns and overheats catalytic converters. Field studies of fleet vehicles misfueled with 87 octane when 91 was specified show converter failures in under 60,000 miles and piston ring land cracking soon after. The answer sits on the filler door label. Use the recommended octane number specified by the manufacturer, no more, no less. Always buy from busy gas stations stocking fresh quality fuel that meets detergent standards, and avoid myths suggesting occasional high-octane use cleans an engine designed for regular octane. Correct grade preserves combustion stability, keeps oxygen sensors accurate, and spares you from 4-figure repair quotes for melted converters or damaged pistons. Always double-check the octane selection at the pump before squeezing the trigger, and drive away with power, efficiency, and engine health fully intact. Mistake 7. Neglecting coolant health. Engine coolant does far more than prevent freezing. It stabilizes temperature, lubricates water pump seals, and guards against electrolysis that chews through aluminium like acid. The additive package responsible for those duties decays slowly each heat cycle, and after 5 years the fluid once filled with protective corrosion inhibitors turns acidic instead. Corrosion begins stealthily at heater core solder joints, migrates to head gasket fire rings, and finally eats through water pump impellers, scattering particles that block radiator tubes. Overheating is the inevitable result, and a modern aluminium cylinder head can warp in minutes, warping that invites a repair bill exceeding $2,000. Flushing the system on schedule costs a fraction of that total and requires only basic tools or a reputable shop visit. Use the exact coolant chemistry specified by the manufacturer. Mixing silicate with organic acid technology neutralizes both formulations, nullifying protection. After filling, run the engine with the bleed screw open until a steady stream flows to purge air pockets that can create steam pockets and hot spots. Finish by checking concentration with a refractometer to ensure boil and freeze margins remain intact. Coolant care is cheap insurance that lets an engine operate at its ideal temperature, improving efficiency, reducing emissions, and sparing you the nightmare of sudden steam billowing under the hood. Fleet maintenance studies show that vehicles kept on a strict coolant plan experience 30% fewer water pump failures and maintain strong cabin heat deep into 6-figure mileage, comfort you will appreciate on every frosty morning. Mistake 8. Running the fuel tank near empty. A low fuel warning light often feels like a polite reminder, but running on fumes is mechanical cruelty to the high-speed electric pump submerged in the tank. That pump relies on surrounding gasoline to cool both its motor windings and the pressure regulator attached to the assembly. When levels drop below 1/4, the pump starts drawing in vapor, runs hotter, and agitates sediment that settles at the bottom over years. The resulting grit clogs, filters, and scratches injector pintles measured in microns. Parts alone for an integrated pump module in many late-model cars hover around $400, and labor frequently requires draining and lowering the tank, doubling the cost. Treat the quarter tank mark as the new empty, refuel before the light glows, and you will never face that late-night scramble for an open station. Keeping more fuel in the tank also reduces vapor space, lowering evaporative emissions and helping charcoal canisters last longer. Environmental testing shows that tanks maintained above 50% cut hydrocarbon loss by up to 20% compared with habitually low levels. An intact evaporative system avoids check engine lights and costly smoke machine diagnostics that can run more than $100 just to pinpoint a leak. Bonus: the extra reserve adds peace of mind during weather emergencies or unexpected detours. Small habit, big payoff. Mistake 9. Overloading roof racks and cargo areas. Weekend adventures often begin with stacking bicycles, kayaks, and toolboxes wherever they will fit. Yet every kilogram piled above or behind the axle shifts a vehicle's balance in ways that electronic aids cannot fully correct. Manufacturers publish a roof load rating, frequently under 75 kilograms including the rack itself, because raising the center of gravity even a few centimeters shortens the margin before a rollover. Instrumented tests by automotive safety institutes documented sport utility vehicles tipping at speeds 20% lower than stock once their roof limits were exceeded. Inside the chassis, wheel bearings, springs, and shock absorbers grind through travel angles never intended for constant overload, shortening service life and ballooning repair costs. The solution is a packing plan, not more hardware. Place the heaviest items low in the cargo area, distribute weight evenly left to right, and verify tongue weight with a simple bathroom scale when towing. Remember that every liter of water or fuel added en route counts toward the gross vehicle weight rating printed on the door sticker. Proper distribution keeps tires planted, stability control systems within their calibrated range, and steering response crisp instead of sluggish. Overloading also increases aerodynamic drag. Wind tunnel experiments reveal that a large roof box can raise fuel consumption by 15% at motorway speed, a silent tax paid at every fill-up. Smart packing protects occupants, preserves components, and ensures the holiday ends back at home rather than on a flatbed. Mistake 10. Delaying brake pad replacement. Brake pads hide behind wheels, making it tempting to forget them until a shriek pierces the cabin. That sound is a wear indicator scraping the rotor to alert you that only millimeters of friction material remain. Ignore it, and steel backing plates grind directly against cast iron, carving grooves so deep that rotors resemble vinyl records. Heat generated by metal-on-metal contact can exceed 500 degrees Celsius, warping discs and overheating caliper seals until pistons stick. ABS sensors misread the jagged surface and trigger warning lights, while the longer stopping distances jeopardize every road user. What began as a straightforward pad replacement for under $200 now demands new rotors, hardware, and sometimes calipers, tripling the bill and sidelining the vehicle for half a day. Inspection is easy. Measure pad thickness at every tire rotation, replace when material reaches 3 mm, and bed in new pads with a series of progressively harder stops to embed a uniform transfer layer on the rotor face. Maintain fluid health by flushing every 2 years. Fresh fluid resists boiling and pushes pistons back smoothly. Clean, intact rotors also protect alloy wheels from metallic dust that stains clear coat and eats into the finish. Used car appraisers routinely deduct hundreds for visible rotor scoring and seized calipers, proving preventive maintenance earns cash back at sale time. Thanks for watching, folks, and make sure to hit that subscribe button if you like what you saw here.